Today I'm going to prove to you guys why the, and I quote, perfectly valid strategy of helicopter cheese is 1, horrible math, and 2, incredibly non-creative, and 3, just is a reflection of not knowing what the hell you're doing in this game. And just to start this off, this is my opponent's opener, not mine. I'm going to be the op 4 for this particular video. If you don't like that, well, tough. We have a BRDM2U, 120 points, let's do the math here. We have 140 points for CV Inf and a helicopter, so that's combined 260. We have 3 90-point helicopters for a combined total of 270 plus the original 260, which brings us up to 530 points there in the air, plus a KA-52, so that's going to be 660 points in the air. And I mean, that's what, 2/3 of your opener? Literally, 2/3 of your opener? And it's not going to these things. And if we looked at my opener right now, what we'd see, and actually let's do that real quick. Yeah, I've got about that much headed on the ground over here into Feder alone, let alone what I've got going into Dimitri. So this is one way that you can virtually guarantee that you're going to lose the opening. Now, you might be trying to get away with it with helicopters moving to actual combat, but that's not what my opponent here is doing. He's moving 3 attack helicopters around the side of the map. The sole intention here is to win by killing my base CV, that's it. He is intending to lose the fight with his opener. That is what you're doing. You're looking at this game and you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I don't need to win, I just need to, you know, exploit a technicality of the rules. So we have a K-52 going up here, and first off, the second you see that column going with this K-52, you pull out. You don't wait for the Mi-35, this is wheeled, this is a wheeled opener right here. Anyone who knew this game well enough to see that would know that their K-52 is in danger and that my hind was not moving because I knew it would draw him into range, and so yeah, I'm happy to do that trade. If you're ever playing against USSR, kill the K-52, the deck falls apart. Kill it every single time you see it, every single one of the K-52s. Even the rest of the helicopter cheese with Mi-24 VPs doesn't work nearly as well without that. So what does he have left on the front line? There's a single Goro 90, which admittedly here is not the worst choice. There's a single recon unit going up that way, single recon unit, double OSA, no fighting capability here really whatsoever, and 3 Mi-24 VPs that aren't even moving to intercept. You could argue that if one of these was headed up here to intercept my column, that it would be somewhat of a valid strategy. I mean, I did the same thing to him over here. I have an attack helicopter, it's meant to dissuade his forces on the ground, but wait, there's my infantry, his BTR-80A is not going to have a long life, and I mean, look at this. How do you win this map once you lose Feder completely, when you have nothing able to fight in Boris, and you barely have enough to defend if I decided to shove here in Anna? And you know, the course of this replay, I'm going to show you guys systematically how to avoid losing to somebody who does something like this. And I hope that you all just, well, I hope that nobody ever loses to this sort of tactic again. So what you'll notice here is I already have 2 BVPs, and I have a couple of other cheaper units here coming out, and I have a Sava coming out, and this Sava is just going to go to my base, that's it. So I already have my defenses set up. Not every deck has BVPs, but you make do with what you can. Cheap guns, and that's it. Because the Mi-24 VPs are inbound in about, probably about 30 seconds or less. And, you know, KD-29TB screening is one thing, but as I said, everything here is dead, and we're going to go up to speed 2 just to see, because really the individual, like, okay, here's the thing. We have about 30 minutes on the clock, and it ended up being about something like a 27-minute game. Not all of that time was spent doing the sorts of maneuvers and everything like that, and the push and counter push that I enjoy about this game. It was just strictly how not to lose to this style of play. That's it. And sometimes that means a long game because you don't overextend and you don't expose your flanks. Now, let's talk about this for a second, because I said it was bad math, and I said I'd prove it, and so here we are. You get 1,000 points in your opener. We are now 3 minutes in. That is 315 additional points. That is more points that I could have called in for reinforcements than he devoted in these 3 Mi-24 VPs. 270 points here, 315 on the board for me. Even if I wanted to match him helicopter for helicopter, I could have. And to be frank, when you see this sort of opener on the ground here, by which I mean no opener, then you buy base defense, and my Sava is right there shooting already. And yeah, I mean, a single Sava won't always get the kill here, but we'll just watch what happens. So we get 1, BVP's shooting, Mi-24 VPs are still alive, and this is less than ideal because I do get a stun, but hey, look at that, I had more points. So, okay, yeah, that 315 points that I could call in, I had some of that alive still, I have other BVPs here, it's like, yeah, congratulations, I saw that you didn't have anything going on the ground, and I bought base defense, and I don't know, it's like, even if we look on the ground here, what's been bought? Well, so, I mean, admittedly it's a bad crit. My opponent was trying to retake the side of Fetter, which is a good idea. This is actually not the worst thing ever. But the way that he's doing it is the worst thing ever. First off, BTR 88, 20 points, Bestness grew, I believe 30 or 35. That is not something you can throw away. You can't hand your opponent 55 points when you're already down on trading, which he is. I'm moving my CV, by the way. And you should well know, if you're used to trying to retake this, that once red has gotten into these buildings, the only real way to fight for this section, well, I guess there's a couple options. One, if you control the middle, you can push through here and edge it out. Two, you send infantry around the side, you get control over you block the reinforcement path, and then you pound the hell out of that. But instead, I mean, he's bought a SU-25T, and a single T-80, and a couple of Motostrelki, and he's just like running them forward. What is this? Something already just died up there. There go two of your Motostrelki. They're not 5-point infantry, they are 10-point infantry. So that whole stack was 60 points right there before the T-80, which is another 65 points right here. Not reversing out of the range of the Podobranki 90, and at this point, I mean, he's got to be down, what, 500 points by now? Because this is what happens if that aggressive starting tactic fails. You're down so much on points. So how does blue win from here? Because it is still possible, and people will still have lost games to this sort of tactic, if you can call it that, before. And I just kind of want to talk about how you can prevent it, because what you don't see me doing is any sort of mad dash. I have not reacted to this by pushing really hard into Anna, pushing really hard into Boris, anything like that. In fact, I haven't even capped Fetter yet. Right now, I'm making sure Elena is safe. And if you notice, blue has nothing near enough on the ground to actually push me here. So all I'm doing, along with a little bit of sneaking, that was unfortunately spotted, is just trying to make sure that when the big air, plane train comes in, I have enough to stop it. So what does that look like? That looks like buying things like a Neva, which should have already been up here. Ooh, did that die? No, Sava, the Neva should be the next buy. I have AL-17K circling the back, and we do eventually get a cap going in. It's just the last thing you want to do against somebody here, especially once you see the SU-25T out, is give them any target in the open for free. So I'm only going to engage when I'm confident that I can at least make him pay for taking that engagement. That's it. Because, yeah, here we go, another K-52, SU-25T, it's 300 and what, 330 points in the air? Again, I guess in the air. MTLBVs, will they do anything different? Place your bets, ladies and gents. Because, yeah, I mean, they're kind of ish stopping up here, but okay, I can still see them, and yeah, I mean, they're unsupported completely. There's no fire support here to take anything out. He's relying on the K-52 to spot things, and it will spot things. It actually sees my BRDM2U, which I hadn't realized that at the time, honestly. I think it gets repositioned here in a bit. Yep, there we are. Because I noticed just then, there's a patch of forest right here that I was in, so the second you see that that's solid, you just move it back, and that's fine. And yeah, there's the Neva. So that large missile is from the Neva M1T. Now, SU-25T is armored, so it is a little bit difficult to get that kit. But, I mean, even this is probably fine. It's going to take him, a long time to get that back. And if you're wondering right there, why did I dive the K-52, think back. I said earlier, kill the K-52, Soviet deck falls apart. So the second I see K-52, yeah, L-17K is about a 60-40 that you'll kill it. So I figured, why not? And I have another, and that's fine. I'm going to buy a second one. There's double OSA right here, but we'll at least get one missile off before we get stunned, and if you don't believe me, just watch. There it is. Boom. Yeah, technically up on points by 10 points for my opponent. I don't care. He only gets 2 or 3 of those. It's fine. It'll be absolutely fine. And, okay. I don't like doing videos like this. This is a hobby that I really enjoy, but if you notice, I haven't been around much the last week, and it's in part because games like this make me enjoy it less. I don't mind losing. I actually recently lost a 2-1 series, well, 2-1-0, two losses, 1 tie, 0 wins for me against a very, very good player by the name of Orange, and I asked him for another one on Monday, because, yeah, I'm down for that, sure. But I'd actually prefer to lose against a player who really does just play very well than win a game like this. or lose a game like this, because honestly both of them just suck. So right now you can see what I was talking about earlier. It's the steady, dedicated push. We have BVPs, we have Mechanics of Ivana. We're fending this off right here. And I'm not exposing all that many points. So I'm doing the mental math on, okay, how many points are in the field here? Say between BTRT, MTVs, and Motostrelki, there's going to be roughly 90 points or so there. And so that's all I really want to show to him. The BVPs are 15 points apiece, that's 45 points here. Mechanics of Ivana are very cheap. Potobronki, yeah, I mean, I got a little bit more than he does here, but it's really not that much, and it's kind of hard for him to hit too, because there's no real strike plane. If there's an IL 102, we'll deal with it, that's fine. I have the Neva up in the back, I have a Sava up here as well. Most planes are not going to be getting in and out for free. I mean, he ups the ante with an IL 102, and we just return the favor, and that's fine. So, everything we killed there, if I lose the BVPs, it's worth it. I have so many of the BVPs, and I think this was a Yugo Natty deck, that it really is just, it's fine. It's whatever. So, looking at the battlefield right now, I've got a +1 tick. Is there any reason for me to risk anything in Boris? To risk anything by an unwise push into Anna? Or do I just sit? And if you're answering anything other than sit, you're wrong. And the reason why, look at this buy. It's another MI24 VP. There's a second one up here. I mean, there's a third one back there refueling at base. There's a 25T that we know is repairing, everything like that. The only forces that have been on the ground, there's been over 1,100 points gained so far after the opener, and 15% of that has been actual ground troops for this guy. 15%. It's insane. It's like the number one thing you learn is you fight on the ground, and no, like 10 to 15%. That's it. And I am sorry that this video is better. It's not gonna be a habit. It's not gonna be a routine thing. It's just, I need to, I do this hobby because I enjoy it, and when I just need to express some frustration, that's what you guys are gonna get. I'm sorry. If you don't like it, then don't lose to people who play like this, and they'll stop playing like this, because they'll probably stop playing the game, because it's either that or they'll have to actually learn how to play, and that's probably not going to be option number one for most of these guys anyway. Some perhaps, and GLHF and I, that's what this guy's name is, somewhat ironic, did talk after the game, and I pointed out to him, the way that he's playing, he could well be a good player, and you'd never know it, because this is just horrible. And if you think about it, I said earlier I'd prove it was mathematically stupid, and I'd also say that it's not creative. And here we're seeing option number 2. Well, part number 2. It's not creative. So we saw it earlier. Makes no mathematical sense. But what would your guys' response be to trying the same push twice into Fetter and having it die horrendously both times? Because I'm guessing most of you wouldn't do it again. But here it is, MTLBVs with Monostrelki, T80, BTRT. I mean, yeah, the T80 wasn't there in push number 2, but it was in push number 1. BTRT wasn't there in push number 1, it is in push number 3. It's like, you had a little variety here, but it's roughly the same number of points, and it's going the exact same place, and it's absurd. It's just going right here. I mean, the second I lose an offensive twice in the same location, I switch it up. That's when you have to switch it up. You have to catch your opponent off guard, because if you don't, you're just going to lose it again. And I mean, how many times can you reasonably afford to do that in one game? It adds up, it really does. So here we have a PD engaging L17K and L19. It won't always work when you try and protect things like this, but if it's bad micro, the PD will target my 17K before he does the L19. That was sort of the intention here. And then I was really hoping to get rid of the SU-25T, but I didn't want to stick around, just in case there was something like a Tor on the ground as well. Something you'll notice about Helo cheesers, this guy doesn't, he just has double OSA. But most of them protect themselves very well against Helo cheese because, they know what it's capable of, they do it. Well, Helo and plain cheese. So, we have a base T80. This is actually a little bit better, and you see I retreat my men out of that forward section. They'd actually run out of anti-tank missiles, so they had nothing left. No boom bars to hit the T80 with, so we're just gonna kind of get back out of there. And, this, to give him credit, is ever so slightly better. He has a couple vehicles that are farther back than everything else. The T80 should be up on the high ground as well. It should not be pushed forward. But at least it's doing something. And the answer is, I have helicopters too. these are Gamma 2s. So at 45 points a pop, 2 of these is the same as one Mi-24 VP in terms of price, and you get 8 Malyuka 2Ms with 24 armor piercing. And, you know, that's enough. And, oh, big whoop, I lost some Padabranki, that's fine. We've killed more than enough for it. And unfortunately, the 27M there did get a nice pick, took out my recon tank. 110 points, and I was kind of mad that, you know, you don't get every plane pick, even when you have a decent defense net. But this is the other thing. If I am pushing up constantly, if I'm buying offensive units, I'm not going to have the resupply I need. And what happened right there is that my Neva M1T only had 1 missile left. I hadn't yet resupplied it, so I have resupply. I think it was driving up, and I was kind of going, oh man, that's unfortunate timing. But if you overextend against these guys, if you overextend against somebody who likes the 27M, the 25T, only plane and helicopter buys and things like that, it will eventually catch up to you where you don't have your air defenses ready. So there we get the PD. I lose my ASF, but honestly, we've been trading okay in the skies, and although that could have gone better, yeah, that's about the worst trade we've taken so far, which is saying something, because we've had a lot of trading going on, and yeah, the fact that it's going this well this long is fine. Now the one issue is that these things, well, so they're spotted, so he should know that I have something close by here. I don't think he really does, but he should know. And then you don't drive up the Ural because, yeah, okay, I guess you did notice that, but goodness gracious, I can't even do this this replay properly just because it frustrates me to look at it. So, oh, goodness gracious. That one, by the way, I landed the Gammas. Probably should have kept them alive. It's worth trading the Gammas for 25T. I just wasn't confident that I could get that trade because of how many times this guy has escaped death, which, you know, sometimes that'll happen. Luck does favor the cheesy, I suppose, in this game. More often than I'd like, anyway. So, what is this? This is now my 24 VP trying the same thing again. And there will be a slight difference, I'll show you in just a minute, but this is again another reason not to really overextend, because if you look right here, right now, I have an MI-17 here, and if we look at my stuff, I have Specjalnie Jednotki, I have a couple of cheap units, and if I had put a CV here, that's less air defense on this side, that's pure reinforcements coming in on this side, and it's less ability to defend it. If he drives the VP in by the side, then, you know, what do I have here to stop it? I have to buy a Sava as well, which I'm doing right now for Dimitri. Should have done that already, by the way. More than enough time, and I just didn't. And a T-55A, because, you know, he might have Helo dropped something over here. And this is my biggest mistake of the entire game. So GLHF does have his helicopter going to Dimitri, and I am too late to stop it with forces on the ground. That Sava should have been there 10 minutes ago, 12 minutes ago. You know, you get 105 points a minute, that thing costs 65. Against a Helo cheeser like this, have air defenses. There's no excuse. So this is where I come closest to throwing the game, because he saw my command infantry. This is a +2 zone. If he clears this, then he's up to +1, and if I'm buying points here, then I'm not buying them in Feder, and eventually numbers will tell. Even if he's trading horribly every single time, eventually enough Motostrelki will kill my infantry if I have to do buys in other places, and he's marking this. And you know why he's marking this? Because he bought an Uragan. So, yeah, it's just... And from his perspective, he might have actually thought he got it. This is another mistake on my part. My M84AN is not nearly well enough protected. I do still have the Neva M1T here, but this thing has proven slightly unreliable, and the 2 Gamma 2s actually firing in. I mean, that was kind of frustrating. With 4 anti-air missiles, each with a reasonable accuracy, you'd expect at least 1 hit. But I did lose another pick for free, and that right there is how people who play like this try to win. They want to snipe your CV, and they want to make you take bad, stupid trades because you're an inch away from your air defense. That's it. That's the sum total of the game plan, and I mean, just... Oh, man. How... Like... Okay, the next one, I swear, will be a game that I enjoy, and I do hope to have more regular uploads than like 1 every 4. I've recorded this video now 3 different times, and I've hated it every single time. And by the way, this is horrible threat assessment. Double 25-point recon tank, he sends in a 25T directly into air defense. What kind of stupid decision making is this? It's like, it's not even good. It's not well reasoned at all. 50 points on the ground, 200 points in the air. Yes, this seems like a good idea. And the irony is, if he had actually kept line of sight there and fired in and gotten the kill, his plane would have dove right over 2 Salvas and a Neva. And where it got out, it turned and got out. I guarantee you it would not have if it was close to 2 Salvas. Those things, close enough range to shoot, will murder planes. It's insane. I actually really like them as anti-plane tech for close-up stuff. So, in Boris now he has a K-29TB going over with CV Imp, and even when he gets that cap there, the question I have to ask myself is, does this actually worry me? Because somebody who's playing like this, they don't have the forces to bowl through in Dimitri, they don't have the forces to bowl through in Feder. I think we've proved that 3 times now, possibly even 4. And so what if he gets rid of the +1? Like, what does that matter? I'm perfectly content to sit here for 18 minutes and 45 seconds denying you the chance to win. Because, most players, when they're behind by 200 points, they will eventually try to push. But these guys, they usually won't. They'll just probably do the same thing over again, looking for those good picks, looking to cheese, looking to get one thing a hair out of line and everything like that. Then, honestly, a lot of times people will quit. So when people are playing against USSR that relies heavily on air, sometimes they'll just surrender. Don't do it. You can win, and you can win really hard. Yeah, just play it slow, play it careful, and don't get ahead of yourself, and don't let those value planes get a lot of value, because otherwise they're horrible. They're like, the 200 pointers are some of the worst planes in the game in my opinion, and not because they have bad performance, they have really amazing performance. But this 27M, you could call it in to kill a super heavy, and it's oftentimes a bad trade. Now, granted, it might make space for your super heavy that your opponent might not have the ability to match, but it's costing you a plane that you usually only get one of anyway, so that's gone, so you've both burned a resource. And if your opponent has ATGM planes that are cheaper, they can do the same thing to you for cheaper. So, it can help, but even one-to-one trading with the most expensive ground unit in the entire game, well, short of the UK, I guess 200 point CV tank, then maybe it's worthwhile in one run, but short of that, it's really pretty awful. So by now I've brought in like 5 different anti-air pieces, we kill a seed plane, we're going after the 25T again, just goodness gracious the number of times that plane's gotten out. And that was, yeah, there we go, we got the kill there. Finally, and what are these Monostrelki gonna do? There's Proletary, they're healthy, I've been resupplying back here. I do have an OSA AKM, I actually have 2 of them, and we killed the first seed plane. I didn't think he'd send another one that quickly. But instead of spending points on the ground, he's just sending another. Probably should have expected it, to be honest. So this was a really good pickup for blue as well, and that's just the truth of it. He actually got both, which, with these guys, I never land both. It's a 50-50 per missile, so the odds of that happening are 1 in 4 before Veteran C, which does make it more like 1 in, well, not quite 1 in 3, I'd say. But, yeah, I guess it'll happen semi-often. Bad radar micro on my part, and yeah, quite a mistake, but I do have more ASFs, we do have enough tools to take care of this, and we at this point, there's 15 minutes left, I'm getting +1 again because I have finally capped Boris, now that I have enough space for anti-air. And here's the other thing, I've been counting points in my head the entire game. I know how many planes he's been buying, he doesn't have air defense over here, it's fine. It's like, yeah, cool. We were at 0-0. I'm moving my CV in Dimitri because he still thinks it's over there. In fact, I think I've moved it over to here, by the way. I'm pretty sure. Or at least it's on its way there now. Yeah. Oh yeah, look at that. It's even farther. So he has 0 clue where that is. And yeah, we're counter Captain Boris. It's fine. I'm going to +1 again. It's like, what are you going to do with 15 minutes of that, man? It's 150 points every 10 minutes. It's not enough for me to win for 500, but yeah, you're not closing the gap with that. 244 points, he needs to be taking +2 by now. +2 we'd win by a fair margin, but +1 he wouldn't win at all. So, double Gamma 2, killing 2 T-80s, that's fine, we've made our value, even if this guy gets kills, which, yep, there's still a Sava here. It's been either here, 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 or here, since the beginning of the game. In fact, I think actually one time I pulled it back to there. Congratulations. That MI-24 VP should have well known that it was going to die. So, I think after this one I'm going to record a team game, because you don't see, well, I guess you do see, but those are just, they're fun, they're why I started playing Wargame, and they're part of how I most enjoy Wargame, to be honest. It's just, very different from games like this, where you're playing ranked, you get somebody like this, and it's just, you play a game to relax, to have fun, and that is the opposite of what this has been, both during and after. So I hope you guys can see all of the inefficiencies in this guy's play, and from the beginning, where he had nothing to counter an actual presence on the ground, to even later in the game, when his reinforcement buys were bad, the creativity here was non-existent. Like, if this guy looked up creativity in a dictionary, he'd see a picture of himself, and then the caption on the picture would be "just kidding, lol." Like, it's nowhere close. Okay, so don't play like this, and if you play against somebody who plays like this, just beat them. Like this right here. Proletariat 90, get the CB kill in Boris, and that's going to be the game. So 2610 to 1580, it's like, yeah, he will get picks here. Some of that's my anti-air, some of that was 210 point recon tanks, some of that's the infantry grind, and then I threw away a plane or two at the end just because I figured I had a huge gap on him. But play slow, play steady, don't overextend, and you know, the hopeful part of me wants to say that people who do this will turn around and actually learn how to play a little bit better. But to be honest, even if they just hightail it to a different game, that's fine with me, because players like that also discourage new players. I played against somebody like this when I was really new, maybe 30, 40 games, and I very nearly didn't play again. It was that frustrating. It's like, okay, this is just... So, honestly, beat them, and if they go away, that's fine with me. We'll have a fun game for you guys next time, I swear. And until then, we'll see you around.